What tools do you guys use outside of video, if any, to help people? Like, what are what are your clients investing in, or what are you asking them to invest in if anything? And what I mean by that is, like, are we measuring velocities? Are we doing power plate stuff if they have that stuff available to them? Like, all the cool tools that you would have probably available to you in that Alabama strength and conditioning room.
Yes.
Are there things out there that you guys are using or implementing with your athletes to get to squeeze out those extra percentage points in those different modalities or components?
Great question, because I've used it all. I've used force plates. I've used velocity-based units. If the individual, whether if they're on their training team or if we're coaching them one-on-one, if they have access, that's one of the first questions I ask. Like, what do you have at your disposal? Like, what do you have? If they have velocity-based units, I will 100% use them, and I will teach them how to implement it in training. Like, I will prescribe velocities instead of percentages or whatever it may be. And that could be a whole nother podcast talking about.
That's a whole nother conversation. Yes, you're right.
But it really just depends on what they have access to. Not a lot of people have access to velocity-based units. I would use them a lot more. In college, I used them a ton because we had them. But it's really just opening the line of communication and trying to create a culture amongst your team, whether it's online, definitely in person. You got to have a living, breathing culture, because you're part of that culture, but everybody on the team is part of that culture. So now it's living and breathing amongst, I run Team Lunch Pail on our crew, and the team is incredible. Like, there's communication amongst the members. A lot of times, if I don't see a message, somebody else who's been on the team since day one answers the question because they know how I program. So it's living and breathing. But it's just opening that dialogue and is really important, whether you're coaching somebody in person or virtually or online. So.
Yeah, I love that. Another tool you can use is the people that are already in the program that are there to support other people in the program, whether they're on one side of the United States or the other, for that matter too, to jump in there. And again, like, a lot of coaches will, whether it's Train Heroic or they're using Facebook, groups, or using something like Meta groups or whatever they're doing to do that, there can be a lot of chatter that can go on in there. And it can get very unfocused, or it can go very tangent, and there needs to be like somebody moderating it. And if you're the coach that's having to do that all the time, not giving some I don't know what's like autonomy to the group to kind of manage itself, that culture is very, very tough to maintain.
Yes.
You're probably one of the luckiest coaches in the world if you've got members of your group that are on your programming that are also providing assistance or guidance for other people on your program. That's a tough thing to do, man. Hats off to you. I don't know how you're doing that, but
absolutely. So
good work.
Yeah, trying. It's a credit to the team. So.
Yeah, so that was just some business end questions, just in kind of how you're managing your groups. I think it's important for people to hear from the coach, like, what are they actually getting from the coach? And it's not just programming, but it's it's not just your knowledge and what goes on the paper, what gets uploaded into the app, but it's the other things that make the program work, that make the program successful. Yeah. So you mentioned, like, you got these two different programs. There was the foundational program. Yep.
Warfighter as well as Team Lunch Pail. And then we also do one-on-one coaching. And then we have this program, 90 Unchained. It's basically 90 days where we're giving education to the client, both because we also have a dietitian on the staff as well. So dietitian handles that education. I handle the strength and conditioning education. So we're giving them education along with a strength and conditioning plan as well as a nutrition plan. And then one-on-one coaching is one-on-one coaching. They get strength conditioning, communication, obviously, with the coach. So there's a couple different layers to what we do. So,
but it's the important layers, man. So, like, it's the nuts and bolts. That make the thing go. And it's also, a little bit of leading the horse to the water, and then maybe they're not drinking all of it yet, but you can make them really thirsty by hitting them with all those different angles, with all those different people. And they're not hearing from the same person every time, right? So you're hearing some different perspectives and whatnot. And again, I think that's an important part of working in a situation where, like, I'm investing in this program. How much is this person on the other end of this program really investing back into me outside of the 8 hours it took them to write this thing? And I should just pay them for that. So again, just a different level of coaching. And I don't want to beat that up too much, but I'd be hard pressed to find anybody that's been in the had fitness endeavors for a long time and hasn't purchased something online.
Yes,
and
correct.
there's a stark compare and contrast to what you get, from one program to the next. Not to say the programming wasn't good, right? The program might have been great, but what did I get to support me in that programming to get me to my goal or to help me avoid falling into a pitfall that, or winding up in a gutter somewhere that I didn't even realize I was number one getting myself into, or now that I found myself there, like, how did this happen? Like,
Yes.
how did I get here? Those are very frustrating things for clients on the other end, and they're frustrating for coaches, but those that are staying on top of the ball can usually mitigate a lot of stuff. But you do this thing long enough and hard enough as a user, things come up. So having resources to get yourself out of those situations is important.
And and especially you as well as myself, like, I'm sure you can attest to this. I've made a ton of mistakes in my strength and conditioning career. And I haven't written perfect programs ever. Like, I've made
Right.
mistakes in college that I've learned from. So we're trying to make it easy for the individual so they don't have to think. Our job is to do the thinking, steer the ship in whatever direction that we deem necessary. And then the person on the other end of that program just has to execute. We have to explain and get the message out. What is the intent of this? What are we getting accomplished over these 12 weeks? Takes the thinking out. You don't have to think. You just show up, you execute the program, and we'll deliver the results as best as we can. So there's a lot of variables, that goes into performance and the end result. You get 10 people on the same program, you get 10 different results because of sleep patterns, hydration, nutrition. It's a bunch of different things, but
It's a matrix.
Our job is to steer the ship and just take the thinking out of it for the user.